Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I am Deepika Mehto, and coming up in the next 30 minutes. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is set to embark on a two-nation visit starting the 3rd of September. He will visit Brunei on 3rd of September and Singapore on 5th of September. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi praises 500% growth of Indian Fintech startups at the Global Fintech Fest in Mumbai, calls for a global AI ethics framework and announces 1 lakh crore rupees fund for research and development. European Union's defence ministers meet in Brussels to discuss boosting support for Ukraine and addressing the dispute at Venezuelan elections. And India wins 4 medals on day 2 of Paris Paralympics. Avani Lekra claims gold, Mona Agrawal earns bronze, Prithi Palal secures bronze and Manish Nath packs silver. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be visiting Brunei on 3rd and 4th of September. This will be the first ever bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will thereafter travel to Singapore on the 4th and 5th of September. Now, this was stated by India's External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Ranveer Jaiswal during weekly media briefing in New Delhi today.
Minister Shri Narendra Modi, at the invitation of His Majesty Sultan Haji Hassan Al Bolkiah, is scheduled to visit Brunei, Darussalam during 3rd and 4th September 2024. This will be the first ever bilateral visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Brunei. The visit coincides with 40th anniversary of establishment of diplomatic ties between India and Brunei. From Brunei, the Prime Minister will thereafter visit Singapore on 4th and 5th September 2024 at the invitation of Prime Minister His Excellency Mr. Lawrence Wong of Singapore.
On Pakistan's SCO invitation, the Ministry of External Affairs spokesperson said that India has received an invitation. He further added that he does not have an update and will inform on the decision later on.
We have received an invitation from Pakistan for the Council Heads of State Government meeting that is to happen. We don't have an update on that for you. We'll let you know what the situation is later.
Now, India has clearly denounced the CNN report on flood situation in Bangladesh and stated that its narrative is misleading and this is factually not correct, and further ignores the facts mentioned in the press releases issued by the Government of India clarifying the situation.
We have seen the CNN report on the flood situation in Bangladesh. Its narrative is misleading and suggests that India is somehow responsible for the floods. It is factually not correct and ignores the facts mentioned in the press releases issued by the Government of India clarifying the situation. They also have ignored that we have a regular and timely exchange of data and critical information between the two countries through existing joint mechanisms for water resources management.
MEA spokesperson has further stated that India's consulate in Sao Paulo, Brazil, is in touch with Brazilian authorities regarding Indians stranded in Brazil, and further details are being ascertained.
As far as the issue of Indians stranded in the international airport in Sao Paulo is concerned, yes, we are aware. I think the figures are not what you've said. There are several Indians, and we also have a consulate in Sao Paulo. The consulate in Sao Paulo is in touch with the Foreign Office representative in the city. They've also sought a meeting with local authorities and ascertaining more details.
On reports pointing difference in India-US readout on the recent conversation between Prime Minister Narendra Modi and President Joe Biden, India's MEA made it clear that the press release is accurate and subject on Bangladesh was highlighted and discussed substantially by both the leaders.
These claims are uninformed, tendentious and motivated, and betray a total lack of familiarity with the process of how such contacts between leaders are organized and then followed upon. Firstly, press releases issued after conversation between leaders are not like joint statements, where every word is negotiated and mutually agreed upon. Secondly, such press releases are not meant to be comprehensive readouts of such conversations. And finally, it is not unusual for two sides to emphasize different aspects of the same conversation in their respective readouts. The absence of an aspect of one press release or the other is not evidence of its absence in the conversation itself. I am very much aware of the contents of the conversation between the Prime Minister and the President of the United States, and I can tell you that our press release is an accurate and faithful record of what transpired in the conversation. The subject of Bangladesh, which has been highlighted, as you pointed out, by certain quarters, was very much discussed substantially by both the leaders.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar spoke at length on India's reshaping foreign policy. Dr. Jaishankar spoke in New Delhi during the launch of a book titled Strategic Conundrums, which is written by Rajiv Misri, who had served as a secretary in India's Ministry of External Affairs. During the release of the book, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the era of uninterrupted dialogue with Pakistan is over, signalling at a strong response from India for cross-border terrorism and infiltration attempts being made in Jammu and Kashmir.
I think the era of uninterrupted dialogue with Pakistan is over. Actions have consequences. And insofar as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, I think 370 is done. So the issue today is what kind of relationship can we possibly contemplate with Pakistan.
In case of China, Minister said that there is a double conundrum. One, that they are a neighbor, which is India's neighbor, and second, they are a major power. While talking about Myanmar, Dr. S. Jaishankar said that the context of Northeast is an overriding one. He said that they are to find a balance between the government and other stakeholders because that is the reality. Dr. S. Jaishankar said that India has to find a ground of mutual interest with Bangladesh, and New Delhi would deal with the government of the day.
Since its independence, our relationship has gone up and down. And it is natural that we will deal with the government of the day. But we also have to recognize that there are political changes, and the political changes can be disruptive. And clearly here we have to look for mutuality of interest.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi hailed country's growth in Fintech sector while addressing the Global Fintech Fest in Mumbai. Lauding the Fintech revolution, Prime Minister said that Indian Fintech startups have seen 500% growth in last 10 years. Prime Minister called for a global framework for the ethical use of artificial intelligence and announced a fund of 1 lakh crore rupees for research and development.
हमने देश में रिसर्च और इनोवेशन को बढ़ावा देने के लिए 1 लाख करोड़ रुपए का फंड बनाने की घोषणा की है। हमने डेटा प्रोटेक्शन कानून बनाया है। मेरी हमारे रेगुलेटर से भी कुछ अपेक्षाएं हैं। हमें साइबर फ्रॉड को रोकने के लिए और डिजिटल लिटरेसी के लिए और बड़े कदम उठाने होंगे। साइबर फ्रॉड स्टार्टअप्स की, फिनटेक्स की ग्रोथ में रुकावट न बने, ये ध्यान रखना भी उतना ही जरूरी है।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi also visited Global Fintech Pavilion of Geo World Convention Centre in Mumbai, displaying latest innovations in fintech landscape. He further interacted with industry experts at the venue and even donned virtual reality glasses at one of the stalls. Policymakers, regulators, senior bankers and academicians from India and other countries are participating in the Fintech Fest. Prime Minister Narendra Modi after that laid the foundation stone of Vone Port in Palghar district of western state of Maharashtra on Friday. The total cost of this project is around 76,000 crore rupees, and the port is one of India's largest deep water ports. It further aims to establish a world-class maritime gateway that will provide direct connectivity to international shipping routes, reducing transit times and costs. Maharashtra Chief Minister Eknath Shinde, Deputy Chief Ministers Devendra Fadnavis and Ajit Pawar, Union Minister Sarbanand Sonowal also felicitated Prime Minister Narendra Modi at Palghar. The Vone Port project incorporates sustainable development practices with a focus on minimizing environmental impact and adhering to stringent ecological standards. Once operational, the port will enhance India's maritime connectivity and further strengthen its position as a global trade hub.
2014 में आप सबने हमें दिल्ली में सेवा करने का मौका दिया। 2016 में जब हमारे साथी देवेंद्र जी की सरकार आई, तब इस पर उन्होंने गंभीरता से काम शुरू करवाया। 2020 में यहां पोर्ट बनाने का फैसला भी कर लिया गया, लेकिन उसके बाद सरकार बदल गई और 2.5 साल तक फिर यहां कोई काम नहीं हुआ। आप मुझे बताइए, अकेले इस प्रोजेक्ट से यहां कई लाख करोड़ रुपए के निवेश का अनुमान है। यहां करीब 12 लाख रोजगार के अवसर पैदा होंगे।
Prime Minister Narendra Modi further inaugurated 218 fisheries projects worth 1,560 crore rupees to enhance infrastructure and productivity, expected to create over 500,000 jobs. He also launched national rollout of vessel communication and support system costing 360 crore rupees that will install 100,000 transponders on fishing vessels across 13 coastal states and union territories. India's National Security Advisor Ajit Doval participated in the signing of founding documents of Colombo Security Conclave. The signing event marked a significant step in regional security collaboration among India, Maldives, Mauritius and Sri Lanka. Following discussions at the 6th NSA level meeting held in December last year in Mauritius, the Charter and Memorandum of Understanding of the Conclave were signed in Colombo that will pave way for establishing the CSC Secretariat. The agreement aims to enhance the grouping's role in addressing security and stability challenges in Indian Ocean region. While in Colombo, Ajit Doval met with Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe, Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena and other national security advisors, including Sri Lanka's Sagala Ratnayak and Maldives' Ibrahim Latif. Ajit Doval also interacted with other Sri Lankan leaders in Colombo. In a significant move to enhance bilateral cooperation in public sector auditing, India and Saudi Arabia signed a Memorandum of Understanding in Riyadh. The MOU between India and Saudi Arabia enhances public sector auditing collaboration, including joint training and exchange of audit practices. It further strengthens ties between India's Comptroller and Auditor General and Saudi Arabia's General Court of Audit, reflecting their commitment to improved governance and accountability. Time to take a short break on DD India Live, but still to come on the other side. Israeli forces kill Wasim Hazem, the head of Hamas in Yemen in special operation. French President Emmanuel Macron and Serbian President Alexander Vučić announces $2.99 billion deal for 12 Rafale fighter jets.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think All dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back after that short break. Let's continue. Now, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated on Friday that Moscow has no concerns about President Vladimir Putin's upcoming visit on Mongolia, despite an arrest warrant issued against him by International Criminal Court. The ICC had issued the warrant back in the year 2023, accusing Putin of war crimes related to the illegal deportation of hundreds of Ukrainian children following Russia's military operation in Ukraine that began in February 2022. While Russia is not a member of the ICC and does not recognize its jurisdiction, Mongolia is a member of the court and acknowledges its authority. Russian forces airstruck Sumy, targeting civilian infrastructure and causing a fire. A 48-year-old woman was killed and at least 8 others were injured. A drone attack on an industrial facility in Poltava caused no casualties. The Ukrainian air defenses shot down 12 of 18 Russian drones over 5 regions, with 4 additional drones crashing within Ukraine. The European Union's defense minister meeting is currently happening in Brussels, and they are discussing boosting the bloc's support for Ukraine and the disputed Venezuelan elections. The defense officials are also expected to look into Europe's defense more generally in the face of what they perceive to be a growing Russian threat. And DD India correspondent Alex Carrier joins us live from Brussels to talk more on this. Good evening from India, Alex. When we talk about this defense ministers meeting, what are the top discussions on agenda at this informal meetings of European Union defense ministers in Brussels, Alex?
Well, the main topic will be Ukraine, of course. That has been a principal topic for these defense ministers for years now, since the beginning of the Russian invasion of Ukraine. The focus will be specifically for these defense ministers on whether or not to lift some of the restrictions that they have placed on Ukraine when using the weapons given to the Ukrainian forces, restrictions as to how deep into Russian territory they can strike. That will be a big question for those ministers. It won't be an EU-level decision. It's up to the individual countries, most notably France and Germany, who have given long-range weaponry to Ukraine, whether or not they allow Ukraine to hit Russian military targets deep in Russian territory. And we know that the Ukrainians have built their own drone program, which allows them to hit some targets in Russian territory. But this will be a big question, particularly as we've seen, you mentioned it yourself, the bombing in Sumy, which targeted civilian infrastructure, according to the Ukrainian officials. We've seen the targeting of energy infrastructure, in particular in Ukraine, has really been hit very hard by the Russians, as have some residential areas. And so the Ukrainians say we need to be able to strike Russia's long-range bombers or Russia's equipment, which is much further into the territory. That's a big question for those European ministers. Also a question of how to use frozen Russian assets in the European Union to help fund the reconstruction of Ukraine. One difference there is that the EU is saying they will go ahead with this plan irrespective of who is in the White House in November. They will continue to support Ukraine as long as it takes. So that gives you a flavor. Also, the ministers will be looking at some of the issues in the Middle East. Particularly, we know that the top diplomat, Josep Borrell, suggested sanctions against 2 Israeli ministers. So all of that is on the table at this ministerial meeting here in Brussels.
And also, Defense Minister of Ukraine is participating in this meeting. He took part yesterday also. What is the stand of Russia on all of these developments that we are witnessing? What sort of reaction are we really expecting from Russia on this?
Well, the reaction from Russia will be to continue its invasion of Ukraine. The fear, in fact, particularly when it comes to striking deep into Russian territory, the fear by some European capitals is a reaction, if not what they see as an overreaction by Russia in Ukraine. There have been threats of using nuclear weapons. We've seen Vladimir Putin and some of his military commanders and some of his allies suggesting the use of nuclear weapons in response to Ukraine's attacks in Russian territory, particularly what we've seen in the Kursk region in the last few weeks. So the real question from Moscow, there's not been an official response to this particular meeting, but there will be a response on the battlefield. We understand that Moscow has been infuriated by the incursion into Kursk by the Ukrainian forces and will likely strike back in a very tough way. That is what we can expect as a response from Moscow. More targeting civilian infrastructure, according to the Ukrainians, and really a ramping up of this war.
All right, thank you so much, Alex Kadia, for joining us and bringing us a rounded perspective on the ongoing meeting. Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov denied any deals between President Vladimir Putin and Telegram CEO Pavel Durov. Kremlin spokesman stated that to the best of his knowledge, Putin has never met Durov. The statement came in the wake of a French judge initiating a formal investigation into Durov on Wednesday for suspected complicity in running an online platform that allegedly allowed illicit transactions, child sex abuse images, drug trafficking and fraud. In a major counter-terrorism operation in northern Samaria on Friday, Israeli forces killed Wasim Hazim, the head of Hamas in Jenin. The operation also resulted in the death of 2 other Hamas fighters and their commanders. An aerial attack uncovered M16 rifles, a handgun, cartridges, explosives, gas grenades and thousands of shekels in a vehicle. Hazim was known for orchestrating and directing shooting and bombing attacks in the Judea and Samaria region. On the second day of visit to Serbia, French President Emmanuel Macron held a joint press conference with Serbian President Aleksandar Vučić in the capital, Belgrade. A landmark agreement was signed by Serbia for purchase of 12 new Rafale fighter jets worth $2.99 billion from France. The deal signed by Serbia's defense minister aims to bring a significant increase in operational capabilities of the Serbian army. In Japan, at least 4 people have been killed and 99 injured due to Typhoon Shanshan. Warnings for flooding and landslides were issued. Now, due to torrential rain on Friday, these warnings have been issued. It halted travel services and shutting down productions at major factories. Around 250,000 households in 7 prefectures were without power in the southwestern regions of Kyushu, as the typhoon brought record-breaking levels of rain in some of the areas. Notices advising residents to evacuate have been issued to more than 3.3 million people nationwide. The storm is expected to approach the central and eastern regions, that includes Tokyo, at the weekend. Dr. T.V. Somanathan today took over as the new cabinet secretary in the Government of India after superannuation of Rajiv Gauba. Dr. Somanathan is an IAS officer of Tamil Nadu cadre. He holds a PhD in economics from Calcutta University. Let's now take a look at other stories making news around the country. Indian Navy has started humanitarian aid and relief work at Porbandar and Jamnagar in Gujarat. The teams assisted villagers in evacuation to safe location. Gujarat has been facing floods due to incessant rains. India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah met West Bengal Governor C.V. Anand Bose today at his residence to discuss the law and order situation in state in the light of Kolkata rape and murder case. According to sources, the governor provided detailed information on the current situation of West Bengal. INS Tabar conducted Maritime Partnership Exercise with Spanish Navy ship Atalia in the Mediterranean Sea. The drills involved a series of advanced exercises such as station keeping, replenishment at sea approaches, flying exercise and more. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited and SAFIL Helicopter Engines Private Limited have signed an Airframer contract. Under the contract, they will work together to develop a new generation high-power engine named Aravali. On to sports now. India opened their medal tally at the Paris Paralympics in style with 4 medals in a row on day 2 of Paris Paralympics. To begin with, Avani Lekra, she won a gold medal, while on the other hand, Mona Agrawal won bronze medal in the finals of 10-meter air rifle standing SH1 category. Avani Lekra not only defended her gold medal in the event that she had won at Tokyo Paralympics as well, but she also bettered her Paralympics record of 249.6 that she had set 3 years ago with 249.7. This is Avani's second gold medal in Paralympics. India's Prithi Palal also created history at Paris Paralympics, becoming the first Paralympian to win a medal in track event. Prithi won bronze medal in women's 100-meter T35 finals. Prithi finished with a time of 14.21. With this, she also becomes the first Paralympian medalist for India in any track event in the history of Paralympics. This time of 14.21 is also Prithi's personal best. Another medal came from shooting, where India's Manish Nath won silver medal in P1 men's 10-meter air pistol SH1 final at Paris Paralympics. Nath finished at second place with a scoreline of 234.9. Earlier in qualifications, Manish finished fifth with a score of 565. In Tokyo Paralympics, Manish had won gold in mixed SH1 50-meter pistol event category. Moving on, next year's Eurovision Song Contest will be held in the Swiss city of Basel. Basel beat competition from Geneva to host the event in May 2025 that Switzerland will host after singer Nemo won this year's competition in Sweden. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download it right now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I am Deepika Mehto, and from all of us here in Delhi, thank you so much for watching DD India Live. Namaskar.